Hey everybody, Assalamu alaikum. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button and the notify button so you'll know when you're getting new episodes. And we just want to grow this project. I thank you in advance. Without further ado, let's get it rolling. The Shout Out Show. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. I'm sorry about that. I think we're having a little technical difficulty. Hopefully it will work itself out. I'm your host, Preacher Moss, the host of the Shout Out Show, the SOS. I hope you're having a tremendous Thursday. As you know, from all the other Thursdays, you know that this is Throwback Thursday. We got a nice topic today. I really thought about this topic before I put it on the air, and I just thought it'd be something fun. Outside of all the other Thursdays we've been dealing with, craziness and COVID and employment issues and all of that, I just thought it'd be fun to do a little flashback, like a real nice throwback Thursday, because I thought of something that we've been missing here. I think this is something really having to do with the kids, which I'll talk about in a moment. But before I do that, let me welcome everybody who's coming to the Shout Out Show for the first time. Hey, let me tell you how this thing rolls. I'm just the host. This is your platform. I'm just a host. There are a whole bunch of people in here that make up a very eclectic group of thinkers and thought provokers, and I say, in my own thoughts and minds, influencers, if you will, who come up with great ideas. And if you have a great idea, it's your first time coming to the show, do us all a favor, put it in the comment section. Put it in the comment section. Join the family. Join the Shout Out family, the Shout Out soldiers, and let us know what you're thinking about. I see a lot of other live stream shows, and sometimes people don't really respond to people in the box, or you're doing IG, or that's all you're really doing. Well, this is a nice hybrid. You know, we have some conversation, we have some laughs, we have some response, but most importantly, we have a forum and a platform where I want you to feel comfortable. Moving on. While you're here, if you don't mind, please click the subscription button, notification button. If you like the show, tell somebody, hit the like button. Hit the like button. It's all right. It's okay to hit the like button. I'm going to tell you why. There's actually a white guy that came up with a button called like. Other than that, let me move on to the stars in the building. If you're watching the show for the first time, the people I'm going to introduce to you, I will always introduce them because they are part and parcel of why the show's special. At some point in time, inshallah, the show will get bigger. Maybe we'll have more guests, we'll have more people watching. But what's going to be really interesting, because I'm going to be able to point out all the people that have been riding along with me and let them tell their stories. We're working on something special for everybody, the Shout Out family. We're reaching out something special. You know, we have a relationship on this platform, so we're trying to do something a little bit special. I'm working with it with Sister Sultana, and hopefully we'll be able to pull it off. But I think we will. That's all I got to say for right now. So let me introduce my stars in the building. This is probably the best part of the Shout Out Show. I'll give a shout out to Sister Ree. Sister Ree, thank you for dinner yesterday. I slept like a 15-minute-old baby like yesterday. That wasn't good, but that whatever it was, that turkey and dirty rice was amazing. Okay, so I had to get that out of the way. Our consultant producer, Sister Sultana Whitfield, who's doing so many things, growing in her own right. And I encourage all of us to encourage her to keep growing, manifesting, evolving. You know, this is a platform for all of us to kind of get things off our chest, to talk about ideas. You know, this is funny. You don't have to say that anybody's censored. And the reason why you have to say anybody's censored is because people are sensible. You know, when you're sensible, we understand other people have other sensibilities. And in that, we respect the forum. And that's what I really enjoy. And this is the queen right here. This is my mom. My mom always says nice stuff to me. Hello, Preacher Moss. You're a truly good-hearted soldier. Honored to know you. Let me tell y'all something. That your parents remind you, that your parents in really subtle ways let you know that you're okay with them, means the world. It means the world. And as we get older, you have to let your kids know that they're okay with you. I'm going to be talking about that a little bit today. And my main man, all the way from Toronto, Altaf Rashid. This brother makes it over here. No immigration, no passport. There's no stamps. If I could put Altaf, if I could put a shout out show stamp in your passport, I would every day, brother. But we appreciate you coming, man, and representing Canada in the most auspicious ways. And my sister Rabina Chowdhury, all the way from the UK, watching the show in her PJs because it's about 11 o'clock over there. And I know she had other things to do, but she tunes into the shout out show. And that makes me feel special. It makes me feel like the show has some value. It's Sister Aika. Everybody make dua for Sister Aika. She's been feeling a little under the weather. We hope that you have recovered. We pray that Allah gives you shifa and gets you back on your feet, Sister Aika. That's important. Now, I'm going to talk about something, and it's nothing new, but it kind of hit me because they're beginning to release reports about the dangers of isolation with kids during COVID, trying to do the online learning, stuff like that. A lot of it is predictable. Let's just say that. A lot of it is predictable. However, there's something in there that I feel like is missing a little bit. That if we could just talk about it a little bit, I talk about how kids really, really grow. And I don't have to talk about being a teacher. If you're a parent, you know what I'm talking about. If you're an older brother and you watch your younger sister or vice versa, it's that need to have that space to grow. So let me talk about this. In fact, today's throwback is about fashion. The title of the show is Fashion, Haircuts, and Rebelling. Let me say that again. Fashion, haircuts, and rebelling. What about haircuts? As a man, a haircut when you were little, when you were old enough to get your haircut, that was a small, small reminder that you were moving closer and closer to manhood. And when I say moving closer and closer to manhood, it means that you were going to have to pay for those haircuts. Your dad expected you to get a job, and out of that sustenance, if you will, he was taking care of the mortgage, car note, food, electricity. He expected for you to take care of your own personal upkeep. And I said, wow, I thought about that. I said, I didn't think of it that way. So we are going to talk about that a little bit. Haircuts, fashion, haircuts, and rebelling. Now, when I say rebelling, please don't go into this whole thing about, stuff for a lot of kids are bad. I'm not talking about that, brothers and sisters. I'm talking about the idea that parents began to give us latitude to think differently. I'll give you a prime example. I believe that my rebelling as a young man began early when my parents allowed me to have my own business. I had a lawn care business. And that lawn care business, if you will, allowed me to do certain things like have my own money to go to the store, the movies, and things like that. But more importantly, it gave me a front row seat in terms of financial responsibility. And, it was not like I was in a situation, if you will, whereby I just ran around spending money. I had to be accountable. But one thing I do remember is asking my parents at times, like, do you need money? One of the best times of my life was when my dad came in one day. He was running late for work or something, and he needed to borrow like $20. And I was so happy to give him that $20. Let me tell you why. First, it felt like, he understood my effort and he knew that I had fruits of my labor. That was number one. Number two, he came to me and he asked. He could have, not, he probably got the money someplace else, but he was running late for work, whatever that case may be. But my point is that he came and asked me and I had it. And I never grew out of that. I'm thinking none of you watching this telecast, watching this live stream, ever forget the time that your parents leaned on you. They leaned on you and they leaned on you with absolute confidence. Like when I went to school, I didn't go to, I don't have any rap stories about, growing up in the hood. No, I grew up Nice neighborhood. Went to private school. I do not run away from that. I'm proud of it because it shows that my parents were able to provide something. I'm not talking about anybody else. I'm just talking about my parents and my situation. So I had like two come-uppances, if you will. One, when I went to school, I literally had to. I went to military school for 6 years. And military school was interesting because it created a different type of persona. The group of African Americans and students that stayed in, a lot of us went from 6th grade to 12th grade. That's interesting. But I think the other thing was that we began to develop critical thinking, very, very critical thinking. My mom didn't let me go to school at the public school. That's a whole nother story, guys. I've told you about with Miss Jones. But what it did was, in that space of having to move around, get up early, go to school, and get to high school, driving yourself, or taking the train, the subway home, it created this autonomy. And it began, like I said, when I had my lawn care business, because my dad trusted me with his lawnmower, but he trusted me to run my own business. And out of that money, I was able to pay for my haircuts. And a haircut, brothers and sisters, a small thing about grooming, continued to grow that idea that the rebelling I talk about was not I don't like you or violent. It was that I had different ideas than my parents. I had different ideas than my parents. I remember one of my mother and I had a disagreement over music one time. This is the first time we had a disagreement over music ever, and the last time. It was at the beginning of rap music, back in the late 70s. We had a red VW Volkswagen. And on the radio came Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. The song was called The Message. And I remember the lyric. My mom looked at me when I turned the radio up, because when I used to drive my mom, I was DJ. And the man said, broken glass everywhere. People pissing on stage. They just don't care. I can't take the noise. I can't take the stand. I can't take the noise. Got no money to move out because I got no chance. Something crazy like that. And my mother turned that radio off and said, is this what you're listening to? And I said, absolutely. Let me welcome Brother Fareed. What's going on, man? It's one of the greatest feelings when I was able to assist my mother paying a light bill when I was a teenager. Fareed, you know what I'm talking about. When you a man, you can help your mama. Ooh, it's a feeling. And let me shout out my sister, Miss Eleanor. Thank you so much. When you could help, brothers and sisters, it gave you a situation that you weren't helpless, that your existence mattered in a way that people couldn't fathom. It was so new and so organic. All you could do was do it and hope that people around you were going through the same thing. I had the pleasure of hiring my big brother Rick to cut grass with me, and another kid, and we had a grass cutting crew, and I was like a supervisor owner, and I was young, man. I was really, really. The lawnmower was more than me. When your lawnmower is bigger than you, when you got on a big hill, when you had to put your hand straight up to push it up, that was me, brother. That was me. But in that, my mother and my father knew the nuances of doing business. One of the best things my mom did, and this is how far back, I drew a picture of an advertisement because there was no computers then. I drew a picture of an advertisement. There's no graphic design, brothers and sisters. And I had a lawn, and it was Moss Lawn Care Service. And my mother did one of the greatest things she ever could for a young man, trying to do business. She took the picture, took it to her job, a government job, and ran off about 75 copies of it. 75 copies. And when I got it, I almost got emotional. But I took each and every one of them around the neighborhood. This is so funny. I didn't have a business phone. They would call my mother's house, trying to see if they could get people. We're trying to see if they get their grass cut. But the point of the matter is, it mattered. The point of the matter is, it was valuable, it was memorable, and it was a stepping stone. And in this time that we're dealing with COVID, something hit me last night and early this morning that our children, this generation of children, is missing that. Talking about isolation, talking about not being able to coalesce with friends, talking about spending extended amounts of time with parents, they're missing that. And I'm worried because that leads to a lot of just things that we don't even want to deal with: the isolation, the anxiety, the things like that, the unsureness that your child is not out of your sight is a scary thing, because that child has to go out and prove themselves. That child has to go out and understand all the lessons that you taught them were not taught in a vacuum. I have a clip here. Now, before we get into anything, people start saying crazy stuff to me. Oh, preach, why you got that clip? Look, spare me. This is one of the funniest clips I ever saw. Now, I'm going to give you, if you don't want to watch, you don't want to watch. But it was Bill Cosby and Theo talking about budgets. Bill Cosby and Theo, Cliff and Theo, talking about budgets. I want you to listen to it. I want you to watch it. Understand, A, this was an amazing effort of writing. B, you're never going to see on television something that examines a father and a son's rite of passage. Check it out. We'll be right back.
Suppose you graduate from high school. Let's say you just slide by. All right, now you got to find a job. Now, what kind of salary do you expect for a regular person?
$250 a week.
$250 a week?
Yeah.
Sit down. I'm going to give you $300 a week. Yes, indeed. $300 a week, $1,200 a month. All right?
Great, I'll take it.
Yes, you will. And I will take $350 for taxes.
Whoa!
Yeah. Now, because see, the government comes for the regular people first. Now, how much does that leave you with?
$850.
All right. Now, you've got to have an apartment because you are not going to live here. So, an apartment in Manhattan will run you at least $400 a month.
I'll live in New Jersey.
All right. Live in New Jersey, you've got to have a car.
I'll ride a motorbike.
You need a helmet. Figure $100 a month for clothes and shoes.
Figure 200. I want to look good.
Okay, so what's that leave you with?
$200. So no problem.
There is a problem. You haven't eaten yet.
I can get by on bologna and cereal. So I got everything I need plus $200 left for the month.
You plan to have a girlfriend?
For sure.
Push the boundaries of
It doesn't get any better than that. Oh, we got Sister Rabina. She's bringing out her old head. Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. Exactly. That is a wonderful song. My mom probably still don't like that song, but it grew you up. Let's just call it what it is. It grew you up. But just look at that song, man. I mean, that one piece that I just showed with Malcolm Jamal Warner and Bill Cosby, that type of education is no longer on television, first and foremost. And in this particular time, where we find ourselves, it's not happening in homes as much as it should. I find a lot of times that when we talk to our children or our youth, we are talking very, very protective frame of mind, not so much a creative frame of mind, not so much of a evolving frame of mind, or even more so, hey, listen, what are your thoughts? Because we're always in a hurry to tell people what they think. So the time remaining, we have Sister Rabina talking about her dad at 13 years old, sitting with the accountant, learning ledger, sitting me with the accountant, learning ledger, tax, profit. That's all real stuff, man. Fareed hit it on the head. There's nothing greater than being able to help your mom. You know why? Because your parents don't want you to help you. Your parents don't want you to help them. I'm going to say something. I'm going to be totally honest. And I don't want people getting in the comment section of this. I'm horrible at asking for help. I am horrible at asking for help, brothers and sisters. Like, I always think at some point in time, in the ninth inning, I'm gonna hit a home run. I'm gonna hit the game-winning shot. I'm gonna throw the touchdown, or something like that. I'm always gonna come out. But you know what? It's funny because that grows out of that space where you think you could do it. You've been doing it for so long. And as we evolve, sometimes we do need a little bit of help. But to my point now, rebelling is not, because let's be honest, some rebellions or kids rebel against their parents, it doesn't have a good connotation to it. There are problems in the relationship. And the problems in the relationship, they manifest themselves. There are young boys and girls who don't have good relationships with their mothers and their fathers. They don't have strong relationships, or they're still together, but it doesn't have that compassion, that mercy, that elasticity that allows them to say, hey, let me learn about you, and then you learn about me. As my dad said, everybody got to be right in this conversation. But my point also is that in this particular time, for Throwback Thursday, reach out. Don't email, don't text, don't WhatsApp, don't Slack. Pick up the phone and call somebody. If you're a mother or father watching the show, call your son. If you're son or daughter, call your mother or father. If they're still blessed to be here, call them. If they're not here, call an auntie, call an uncle, call a brother. Because I believe, with the utmost of, I want to say, spiritual confidence, that when you call these people, they're going to remember certain things that maybe even you forgot. I had some missteps on the way to thinking I was a man and things like that. I remember running away from home 7 years old, and I didn't know that when you ran away from home, you need to have plans. So I remember almost freezing to death, and my mom and dad let me sit out there on the carport, and because I left without my jacket, and damn near froze to death. But I learned. But what I learned was I was a child. And when it comes to the point where your parents stop treating you like children and start treating you as partners, start treating you as somebody who also bears a fiduciary responsibility to the family, that's a big step. That's a huge step. I had a DI, a drill instructor in high school. His name was Robert Sharp. He'd been in the military 32 years. He was a gunny sergeant. I would like to say, in many regards, he helped me get through school. He helped me get through school from 9th grade all the way up to 12th grade. And what he reminded me was, we didn't have time, particularly in the military situation. He said, we didn't have time to learn and unlearn bad habits. So one of the things about this whole thing about, I call it fashion and hairstyles and rebelling, is when you evolve, the one thing that you didn't want to do is learn bad habits. Now, think about fashion. And I'm going to say something. It's easy to say fashion back in the day. Like, think about young ladies. I'm going to tell you, ladies, young men were probably more concerned about fashion than you were. Why? Because we were trying to impress young ladies. You didn't want to go around a young lady bummy, stinky, dirty, or anything like that, because young ladies talk. But the thing that was really, really important is that we all had this perspective. And that grooming that I'm talking about, the haircuts, the fashion. What was that for? What was all that about? What it was about was we were trying to be our best selves in the models that our parents saw. One of the biggest heartbreaks in my day, and I don't talk about it enough, but I'm gonna talk about it today, is during the era of Black Pride and things like that, where people could wear afros. Your boy, Preacher Moss, sadly, I could not wear afro. My hair would not grow out like that. It grew up and then it get really curly, but it never really grew out. And honestly, I lived in disdain and envy of my two parents because my parents could grow afros. Do you know the embarrassment of going out with all this blackness and Afrocentricity? Your dad got a fro out to here, your mom got a fro out to here, and here you are with a fro out to here. And it wasn't, brothers and sisters, about the Afrocentricity. I just wanted to be like my dad with his fro. Just to be able to do this. And my mom, pick it up. You know, my pick, I didn't even need a pick. My comb was that big. But let me center this conversation, if I can. Right now, one of the biggest things that's going on as parents, as influencers, as adults, is we have to somehow reimagine and reestablish these quiet rites of passage. Because that's what rebelling is. It's finding a meaningful rite of passage. And that rebellion, your father went through it, or your mother went through it, you know, and we're not talking about negative things, though it happens. Because believe me, if your mom and your dad went through something negative and it's not resolved, there's a good chance that your children are going to go through something negative because they didn't resolve it. It happens all the time. It's in family dynamics. I don't need to give a course on that. You don't need to hear one. But my point is, what can we do, brothers and sisters? What can we do to help recenter the argument for these kids to have positive space for positive rebellion, positive space to be able to go out and have these rites of passages? You know, things that didn't happen, proms, quinceañeras, bar mitzvahs, you know, those are huge things. Kwanzaa, Christmas, you know, the best Christmas I had. Now, I know I'm going all Christian on y'all because that's where I was. The best Christmas I ever had was when I was able to buy my parents gifts. And probably some of the best Eids you ever had, for many of you, was when you were able to buy your parents gifts or take them to dinner or things like that. You know, the best time I ever had is take my parents out. We went out to eat, and I made sure that the waitress didn't go back to my dad with the bill. I got this. I stopped her and said, "Here's my little money." Bam. And the tip, might I add, because I'm a classy guy. Bing. How do we discover that? How do we not rediscover? That's recover or discover. We're gonna call it rediscover. Yeah. How do we discover that? And put it out in the vernacular, because that's also the thing that's about healing. Because when you're an adult or you're a parent and you see where the authenticity of good behavior, good decisions, good investigation congeals in your children, your nieces, your nephews, your brothers, your sisters, it's so important that they have that experience. Like I said, the fashion, I'm going to tell y'all, I didn't bring the picture out, but I'm going to tell y'all something. I had one Easter, or Miss Ruby, that's my mom's friend. Her name was Ruby. She was a seamstress. Miss Ruby made me a suit. And I'm here to tell y'all, that was a bad suit. If I could bring it back now, I couldn't fit in it, but I'll show you. Boy, I had a green jacket, green pants. I looked like a little Al Green with glasses. And I had a part that was about this long, went all the way it looked like to the back of my shoulder blade. But boy, I was clean. And I'm here to tell you, every time I walked in the room, where my dad and my uncles were, my cousins were, I let them know there was a man in the house. So as we wrap this up, I don't want to forget the importance of our brothers, not just our brothers, but our sisters, our women, having the space and for lack of a better word, increasing the opportunities for agency to have their rites of passage. Because that's something that has definitely disappeared in this last couple of years. Don't know what happened. I can't give you all the prescription for how do you fix it. All I can say, I noticed that there's been a drastic reduction in celebrating rites of passage for young women. And I want to make sure that by the end of this podcast that I've said we have to do something to increase that. It's missing right now. And I won't blame it all on Trump. I won't blame it on COVID. It's been a slow, and I can tell you why in some regards, or I can hypothesize why. I don't know things. But it does have a lot to do with the dehumanization of women and the devaluing of women to the point that we're not giving them their proper due to have their own rituals. So I'm gonna get out of here, man. Thank you guys so much. Let me run down the show list. We had everybody here today. Let me run down my stars in the building. I don't even get to do this. I want to thank Sister Ree. I want to thank you, Sultana, Mama Son, Altaf, Sister Rabina, Sister Aika, Brother Fareed, and my brother. This is what I'm talking about. See, this is my brother, Johnny Thomas. Now, JT is a prime example. I've seen him with his boys and me as their uncle. It's really, really interesting how we've been able to handle things. We don't get all the results we want from our kids, but you're not supposed to. Otherwise, they just be robots. But it's fun to sit and watch them figure out their way. So, JT, thank you so much for allowing me to sit and figure out and watch the way of my nephews who are outstanding young men in their own right. So listen, I'm going to bounce. I hope you guys are doing well. And it's Throwback Thursday. Tomorrow is Friday Funnies. Listen, stay blessed. Enjoy yourself. And remember, it's like a jungle sometimes. It makes me wonder how it keeps from going under. Ha, 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 ha. That's for you, Sister Rabina. All right, everybody, take care. See you tomorrow, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Hey everybody, this is your brother Preacher Moss. Listen, I hope that you enjoyed your Shout Out Show experience. We'll be back with the next show, the next Shout Out Show. A simple ask before you go, please help your brother out. Click that subscribe button.